It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Pros, ends yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here with you on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. Also streaming on 1069thefan.com. And we're also on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. So you can, lots of different places to find us live and in real time, or you can catch us on our podcasts after the fact on our website or on our app. And lots of different places to follow us and see what's going on. And part of the show, always love to have you join in and be a part of the action as well on the Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321. If you want to chime in, be a part of the show today. And today, we'll giving our predictions and more serious, not to say they're unserious before, but more detailed predictions, if you will, or previews of Utah State and Wyoming.
The rest of the week, we were just kidding. The real stuff begins today.
That's right. We had our fingers crossed behind our backs. Real stuff today with our predictions. Love to get yours. Also, we'll look at other things that are going on this week. We've got volleyball playoffs for the high schools. Those brackets were revealed yesterday. We didn't get a chance to mention those as part of the show yesterday, so we'll get into that a little bit more today. Utah Jazz with their season opener last night, a close one between them and Memphis. There were stretches where the Jazz looked really good, and there were stretches where they looked young and inexperienced, and it clearly showed. But competitive game in the second half and exciting. So we'll give our initial reactions to Game 1 for the Utah Jazz and the World Series getting underway as well. Do you like that there's two name brand programs in the World Series, probably the biggest brands in baseball, squaring off against each other in the World Series? Or do you prefer to have someone new, upstart, somebody who really hasn't been there quite as much, to cheer them on and give them a chance to see how things can go for their program? Or is it better for baseball? Is it good for the league to have its premier athletes and premier brands in the World Series? So those are some of the things on the docket today. We'll sprinkle in a few others as well. And as is normally the case, if you text in with a different comment or question, that can sometimes veer us off topic.
Yeah. We do have a giveaway, though.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of the text line, we have, 4 tickets for the Utah State hockey.
Yes.
This weekend, they're playing Weber State. I forget, is it Friday or Saturday?
It's Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. So if you don't have any plans for Friday night, you can win 4 tickets to Utah State hockey. Basically, the way we'll give those away is we're going to be doing our Utah State football score predictions. Just send in your score prediction and indicate whether or not you would be willing to use the tickets. Because if you want to just send in a score prediction, but you can't, take the tickets, then that's fine. But indicate if you want those tickets, then we'll just kind of randomly pick, pull your name out of a hat or something like that. And we'll send you a text, and that way you can come pick them up. You need to pick them up tomorrow, just during regular business hours, and we'll be able to give them to you, and you can go to Utah State hockey.
Yeah,
one of the best venues up here.
If you want to give us a score prediction, but you can't go to hockey, let us know so we don't award these tickets to somebody who can't go. We want to make sure they're going to a good home. So when you give us your score prediction, maybe just say no hockey or something like that. I don't know.
Tell us whether or not you hate the sport of hockey. You're just an absolute hater that can't stand it. Never mind. No, but yeah, just indicate whether or not you'd be able to use the tickets. And we'll pick somebody by the end of the show or just shortly after the show.
Yeah, 435-339-0321. Give us your score prediction. And in doing so, we enter you into the contest to win 4 tickets to go see Utah State Club Hockey tomorrow at, I believe, puck drop is at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, pretty typically.
Yeah.
They'll have that. You can probably double check that.
The Eccles Ice Arena, they're in North Logan.
Yeah. Fun place to go watch a hockey game.
Yeah, great rivalry between those two schools.
Yeah, that's the thing is normally you think of Utah or BYU. No, in hockey, it's Utah State against Weber State. That is an intense rivalry. These two clubs been very good. Both sides been pretty good for a while, but the rivalry's still going strong.
Yes. So, if you want to go, make sure you give us a score prediction for Utah State and Wyoming, who will face each other on Saturday. And that's what we'll kind of lead off the show today discussing is our previews for Utah State and Wyoming. We've kind of alluded to this earlier that this is a game about strength on strength versus weakness on weakness. Utah State is proving to be a pretty dynamic team offensively. They keep moving up the list in the Mountain West as far as offense, total offensive yards per game, total points per game, touchdowns per game. There's a lot of metrics that Utah State's hitting on in the last 3-4 weeks that are moving them up the list as Spencer Petras settles into his role as a starter. That offensive line it continues to be very good. Dynamic players surrounding Spencer Petras with a solid tight end, a solid running back, very dynamic wide receiver. And so the offense is clicking for USU for the most part. It's not perfect. I'm not trying to say that it is, but it's moving at a pretty good pace. And then on the other side, you've got Wyoming, their strength of their team. I know they've had a frustrating season as well, but the strength of their team, particularly over the last 3 weeks, has been an improving defense. And it's been a defense that has given the Aggies trouble the last several times that they have faced them. And Jay Sawvell has been a part of that defense for quite some time, where he was the defensive coordinator and was elevated to the head coaching position. And so this is a strength on strength situation where it may just come down to the weaker aspects of each team, who does better in the areas where they're weakest.
Yeah, that's what I was saying yesterday. This may not come down to which team's strength does better. It's whose weakness does better. Does Wyoming's offense get the better of Utah State's defense, or the other way around? And you really got to be worried, because you look at this and you say, okay, now you face Wyoming. It's finally not a good offense. Finally, Utah State can hold somebody under 38 points that isn't an FCS team. But Temple had the same thing, where they were and kind of still are a bad offense, and they put up 45, and that was a home game. Wyoming's going to be at home. So a lot of worry there, though I do think Utah State's defense should be improved over the Temple game. Now, even though they're a little bit more banged up, I think they've found some ways to hit their stride. And as long as they're not facing somebody who's really dynamic, which Wyoming doesn't have anybody particularly dynamic, I think they can at least slow down Wyoming enough. And that's going to be the key. You're not going to shut down Wyoming, which is a little sad that has to be the case, because Wyoming's an offense that should be easy to shut down. But Utah State just needs to slow them down and then make sure their offense gets going. And I know you mentioned Utah State struggling a little bit with that Wyoming defense. You look at their last 5-6 games. The last time they scored more than 26 points was in 2015. Now in that game they really got going as 58-27, but they scored 14 in their most recent matchup, 17 the time before that, 26 in 2019, and then in 2018, peak Jordan Love, 24 points, and Jordan Love had 45 passing yards, I think, in that game.
Yeah, that was a really tough game. They were really coming after him.
And one of the touchdowns was like, I think it was
a cold weather game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a cold weather game.
Cold wind.
Yeah. And I was at that game. I was traveling with the Statesman to that game. And I think Darwin Thompson, I always get him and Devin Tompkins confused. I think I got it right. The running back. Mm-hmm. He had like a 70-something yard rush on like the first play of the game. And then after that, it was terrible. In fact, I think they even got like a kick return touchdown in that game. So the offense was just like terrible in that game. Even though that was peak, blow every team out 45-7. That was the 2018 season. And even that one struggled with Wyoming. But I think the tides turned a little bit. So I'd expect Utah State to be able to score a little bit more. I think Spencer Petras has really, really found his stride. 360 yards in 3 straight games. 8 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, completing about 67% of his passes. I think it was 67% of his passes over the last 3-4 games. So you've really found a rhythm there with the offense. So I think the offense, is going to score enough that you should win. The question is whether or not the defense is going to make that happen. Because you look at the last 3 games. Hey, you mentioned the offense, whether or not it's playing perfect or not, but I say if your last 3 games, you score 30, 34, and 45, for most teams, those are 3 winning scores, especially that 45. But if the defense can't hold anybody, then it doesn't matter if your offense is good, you're still going to lose.
Yeah, I think Utah State's offense has made large strides since Temple. They're going to put pressure on Wyoming's offense to try to keep up. That is assuming that Utah State can execute. If Utah State gets off schedule on first or second down, Wyoming is the best in the conference, actually, in limiting opponents on third down. Opponents on third down only convert 28% of the time. So Wyoming's third down defense is pretty stout, whereas Utah State, if opponents get a third down against USU, they'll convert it 48% of the time.
Yeah, that's just like...
and if they don't on third down, they'll try it on fourth.
Yeah, basically. And that's basically first half versus second half. In the first half, they only get a couple first downs. And then the second half, they get all of them. That seems to be the case with Utah State on defense.
Yeah, opponents are converting about 67% on fourth down.
Yeah, but the thing is, looking at that third down conversion, one of the most important things is like, what's your yardage on third down? And for Utah State, they really need to run the ball for the sake of being consistent on offense. Because like Spencer Petras can throw for 300 plus yards, and the offense can still only score like 17, 20 points. Like we've seen that a lot of times where quarterbacks throw for boatloads of yards and their offense basically gets shut down.
Yeah,
it's because they're moving the ball a little bit, and then they can't finish a drive. They can't sustain a 9-play drive or get a big enough play to put them in the red zone. And so they rack up some yards, but it's just a bunch of empty calories. And that's where the run game can be incredibly useful. Like in a fringe scenario, you can just have the passing game lead the offense to a ton of points. I mean, that's kind of what happened in the last game with Utah State. Spencer Petras threw for a ton of yards. They didn't run for a ton, and they scored 45 points. So that kind of thing can happen, and maybe it'll happen against Wyoming, but you want to have that consistency. You want to not have to rely on converting 3rd and 8 because you ran for it on first down, gained 2 yards, threw an incompletion, and now you have to complete a 9 or 10-yard pass. You don't want to be consistently relying on that. You want to be able to convert because that's a mark of a good offense, is converting on 3rd and down, including 3rd and difficult. Utah State needs to make it as easy as possible for them on both sides of the ball. Set yourself up in 3rd and short, and then set yourself up on defense in 3rd and long. Give yourself the biggest cushion as possible. So that was another problem against New Mexico, is they converted like 8 out of their last 11 or 10 out of the last 11 third down attempts. Like 2/3 of them were 4 to 6 yards or less. That's not too hard to convert on 3rd and 4.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is, you could say this about any game, really, that it starts with the run game, because so many games do, and it's a vital part of any game. But This is a game where Utah State should be able to move the ball on the ground a little bit more against Wyoming.
Should have been able to do that against New Mexico.
Yeah, true. So Faison, Turner, it's going to be important for them to have strong performances. Now, this Wyoming on defense, now they'll give up 172 yards rushing defense, and Utah State on offense is averaging about 158 running the ball on offense. So you look at those two numbers and you think, okay, Utah State should be able to have a little bit more of an advantage here. But here's the one that's most concerning. Wyoming, their rushing offense, they're averaging 107 yards per game, but Utah State's rushing defense is giving up nearly 240 yards on the ground.
Yeah, and there's
a huge disparity there.
Yeah, it's just it's embarrassing to see that kind of number be your average. Like, that's ridiculous. Sometimes you give up 240 rushing yards, and that can just happen to you sometimes. But yeah, Utah State allowing 5.7 yards per rush. That's why I worry. Like, you look at Wyoming's bad rushing offense, but I feel like they have enough guys out there that if Utah State isn't really stepping it up, they're going to let Wyoming go for 200 plus rushing yards. If Evan Svoboda gets out and runs, like, honestly, I feel like that's a very dangerous scenario. I know Svoboda is going to be sharing time with Caden Anderson, but I feel like Evan is just going to scramble a decent amount in the early game, get Wyoming's offense moving, and then he'll make sure that Caden Anderson doesn't get a ton of passes, and Svoboda will basically do what Evan Simon and Devin Dampier did to Utah State's defense. Just get yards at will, in the air or with their feet.
Or with the feet, yep.
And that would basically signal a loss for Utah State, is if they allow that to happen. If they allow the quarterback to make plays with his feet, then they're just going to lose. Because then, they've not really been able to stop any of these running quarterbacks from having a big impact with their legs or with their arm. So that's probably one of the biggest keys for me is making sure that Utah State attacks the quarterback and don't let him get away. If they can do that, then the defense will probably be fine. You may not hold them to 20 points, but if you can keep the quarterback from being a big playmaker, then you'll hold Wyoming to few enough points that you give an offense a chance to actually win the game this time.
Yeah, and Svoboda is more of a bigger quarterback who isn't necessarily going to beat you with his feet to the corner and to the edges like Dampier or Haj Malik Williams. Then they were slippery, made it difficult to catch them because they had a little bit more speed. But Svoboda is a little more powerful.
And he's hard to take down.
And he's hard to bring down, right? So if they can contain him to the middle and get more bodies in there, then they should be able to slow down or stall out some of their drives. But again, that's something that we thought would have been easy to do against several other quarterbacks that the Aggies have faced and have continued to struggle with that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for us to say here in the radio booth here in Studio 7, but they got to go out there and do it. They got to go out there and attack the quarterback, because we've seen when they do attack the quarterback a little bit, that's when they've played really good defense. When they were attacking Isaac Wilson way back in the Utah game, they were shutting him down. When they were attacking Dampier a lot better, they were shutting down the New Mexico offense for a hot minute. They made Evan Simon look like he didn't even belong in Division I for like a quarter. But then they couldn't keep it up. So that's the key, is like, keep it up for like can you do it for like 3 quarters? Like 3 quarters might be enough. If you can do it for 3 quarters and let the offense build a bit of a cushion and then roll from there. But yeah, again, it's just it's a big if at this point. You got to wait to see it to believe it.
Here's what Coach Nate Dreiling had to say about 2 quarterbacks at Wyoming and the challenge that may pose to his defense and trying to prepare for 2 different guys, 2 different styles on Saturday.
Yeah, the offense is similar no matter who's in. They do a little bit more QB run game with 17, the big guy back there. But both of them, it's a vertical shot passing game. They want to try to get some type of cross country routes coming from across the field to slide in between zones. And then the run game is your typical outside zone. They do a good job designing QB run game for when the big guy is in there. So it's the same defensive plan for us, but ultimately we have to make sure, kind of like last week, we have to make sure that we're pressuring this quarterback, but we do need to finish better when we get back there.
Yeah, and when I talked to Jaden Francois earlier this week, does he prefer a running back or a running style quarterback, or one that is more of a passing style quarterback? And he would prefer to face somebody who's going to be in the pocket more, throwing the ball around, because it gives his unit in the secondary and that striker position, that nickel position, more opportunities to get a turnover and pick the ball off. Because that running quarterback can be a little bit harder to bring down and a little bit more dynamic, trying to figure out, well, where's he going to go? Is he really going to run, or is he just rolling out and then he's going to deliver the ball to somebody else?
Yeah, it's just fewer variables in the equation. If he's running, then that can make it harder to defend on the back end, because you got to keep eyes on the quarterback. Because if all the defensive backs turn their heads and they're not paying attention to the QB, then the quarterback's going to run for a first down easy. And if you're a non-running quarterback, you don't have that threat, and so you can focus on the passing game. Keep your eyes on the wide receiver or the quarterback, whichever one you prefer, whichever one the defense prefers, and you can go from there. So it's obviously a lot easier. It's why people always like to have a running quarterback, is because it adds more to the offense. And so the defense obviously doesn't want to guard that as much.
It causes the defense to spend just a little bit more time trying to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you actually have to defend the quarterback. Usually you're not really defending the quarterback. You're defending everyone he's throwing to, and then obviously you're sending some people to try and tackle him, but you're mostly defending everyone else except for him. And then if he can run, well, suddenly you do have to defend him. And that, again, it's just another variable you have to account for, and that causes problems.
Now, Wyoming hasn't been stellar running the ball this year. Utah State has not been stellar in stopping the run. So interesting to see which one actually plays out a little bit better on Saturday. But Coach Drawling was a little uncertain as to why Wyoming has struggled with their running game.
Their starting tailback got hurt in fall camp, so their big guy they got back there was the number 2 going in. But I do think that their starter's going to be back maybe this week, so we're preparing for the guy that started the last 2 seasons for him. But why they've been struggling, I don't know. You look at them and the offensive line, they move well together, they handle movement well together. It's just that kind of like us on defense, they're just trying to find some confidence, trying to find their identity, what they want to do, and what they want to become. So right now we're both searching. So hopefully we can find ours first, though.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of it's that kind of coach speak where they get up and they say, "Oh, the other team's got a great coach; they're better than their record says." Which Nate Darling did say that about Wyoming, so you can check that off the bingo card.
Yes,
but Wyoming's not run the ball very well this season because they're not very good at running the ball. Like, that's the answer to that question. Nate Darling just kind of has to dance around it to avoid giving bulletin board material to the Cowboys. But again, as I said, that doesn't mean that Wyoming can't or is completely incapable of going out there and just running over the Aggies, because that's been part of their identity, and they're going to be, licking their chops at this Utah State rush defense that allows 240 per game on the ground. They're going to find the weaknesses in Utah State's run game, and if Utah State doesn't properly do their run fits and doesn't play physical, doesn't tackle well, then Wyoming's just going to be the next team to rush for 200-plus yards against the Aggies. You can't just assume that Wyoming's incompetent and that's just going to take care of itself. You got to go out there and do the job.
Right. Urgency, intensity, and have it sustained for the full game. I'd like to get your predictions for the game on Saturday, Utah State at Wyoming. Means our pregame coverage on our sister station, KVNU, will begin at 3, KVNU Game Day with J.D. Walker and Stockton Jukes, plus other special guests. That'll start at 3 o'clock, kickoff at 5. Full play-by-play coverage on 102.1 FM, 610 AM, KVNU. So I'd like to get your score predictions for the game on our Full Court Press text line. Those who text in a score prediction are entered in to win 4 tickets to go see Utah State Club Hockey take on Weber State tomorrow night. 435-339-0321.
Cold weather is here, which means you'll be using your gas fireplace again. Let Advanced Fireplace and Stove, the 4-time Best of Northern Utah Gold Medal winner, help you get it ready for those cold Cache Valley winters. Schedule a service call with one of their service pros today and receive 20% off if you mention this ad. If you're building a new home, Advanced Fireplace and Stove can design and install a Heat and Glow fireplace. From traditional to modern, Heat and Glow has something for every design and every budget. Find out more at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
This is Catherine Buse with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account. If you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Old McDarrell has a farm, an appliance farm.
Looking for luxury appliances is convenient and easy at Darrell's Appliance. This is Jay, one of the owners at Darrell's. Our 5-star installation and service are exactly what you want for your Wolf, Sub-Zero, or Thermador kitchen. We get it done right the first time and service everything we sell. Experience the Darrell's difference west on Airport Road.
See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker. 435-339-0321. If you want to give us a score prediction for Utah State at Wyoming on Saturday, 9315 with a score prediction. USU 34, Cowgirls 28. Okay, I like that. That seems kind of close to another score that you may hear later in the show.
Oh, really?
8968 texting in. I think that the Aggies will win if they just tackle instead of just putting their hands on them and let them get away. Yeah, tackling has been an issue with this defense. Missed tackles, the inability to bring someone down. There's a lot of pushing, hoping they fall down rather than wrapping them up and not letting them get away.
Yeah, well, that's almost what you have to do these days with how fast these guys are and all the different places you're not allowed to hit on a different player. That, yeah, a lot of tackling these days just feels like, yeah, just shoulder check them as hard as you can and hope they fall over, which, I don't know, that's not the greatest technique, because then you get guys who don't fall over. And then what do you do then?
Then you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
They're breaking off, 50-yard runs or throwing the ball deep and you get a touchdown out of it. So, yeah, Aggies need to find a way to tackle. They need to find a way to run fit. If they can keep Wyoming from having a breakout game on the ground, they'll win this game. Like, if Wyoming only rushes for like 120 yards, the Aggies will win, barring some really weird instance where their offense just goes completely kaput. Because I guess, that's always possible. But if the Aggies don't allow themselves to get gashed in the run game, Wyoming's not good enough in the pass game.
Yeah,
to beat the Aggies.
Not a great quarterback. A lot of young wide receivers that consistently make mistakes. But that all being said, Coach Strouling, he sees talent on the Wyoming offense.
And offensively, they got their big quarterback, big tailback, solid group of wide receivers, and an O-line group who plays very well together. So they're very sound, I would say, all the way around. You could tell they have phenomenal teachers in that building coaching those guys up. So they're not going to hand you anything. They're going to make you try to win the game. Now it's going to come down to which one of these two teams wants to finish this week.
Yeah, I think that last part's going to come down to who wants to finish.
It's really the matter of the the issue at hand here is who wants this more? Who is most desperate?
Yeah.
They're both desperate, but who's most desperate? Who can break the will of the opponent quicker and earlier? Because I don't know. I mean, both teams are going to be trying to get another win here, but if you get up, if either team has some success in the first half, and probably that first drive or second drive in the third, that's probably the game. If it's a close game back and forth, well, I don't know what's going to happen. But if one team gets up on the other, then I don't know if either team will be able to fight back and get back into it.
I think Utah State's done pretty well in fighting back, although if you're staring 1-7 straight in the face, who knows? You can't predict human behavior. But, yeah, it's just who's going to pay attention more in film this week? Who's going to put in that extra work on the practice field? Who's going to be able to make those in-game adjustments? Who's going to be able to patch up the weaknesses that show up? Because with two teams that are playing this bad, somebody's going to mess up and have something go really wrong for them in the game. Who can patch those up the quickest? Who can overcome their mistakes? Or I think as I was kind of saying yesterday, this isn't about who plays the best. It's who screws up the least.
Yeah.
Which team has fewer penalties? Who has fewer drives that are killed by either penalties or turnovers? Whose defense makes that kind of maybe random play where, maybe both haven't been spectacular this season, but, go out there and get a turnover, get a special teams score or a defensive score. Those are the kind of things that can end up determining this game. If not, other basic factors. If one of the teams just steps up and shuts down the other one, that's always possible. But I think when teams are this bad, the chaos they're spectacularly interesting games in the same way that 2 6-1 teams might be, just in a toilet bowl sort of way.
Yeah,
don't overlook these games because the New Mexico Utah State game was a thriller.
You're right.
So just because the teams are quote unquote bad doesn't mean it's not going to be an exciting game and guys are going to go out there and be making plays.
Right. And as we saw last night, for those that just trying to find any football to watch, sometimes you can have a team that's on paper really bad beat a team that on paper is really good.
There's football yesterday?
It was Kennesaw State took down Liberty. Kennesaw State got their first win, and Liberty got their first loss.
Oh, that's brutal. And Liberty, they were one of the key. Well, I guess I shouldn't say key because you had Navy and Army, but teams looking to challenge. Boise State
in the running to be that group of 5 representative in the playoffs. But one thing that talking about second half, one of the things that's been a bit of an issue for USU is maintaining that intensity and that urgency, because that's another thing that we've been talking about. For me, as a real key Saturday, we've seen Utah State come out strong in the first half in some of their games, particularly in the first quarter, but over the course of the game, particularly in the second half, fade in that category or be so far behind that it doesn't matter really.
Yeah, they started out strong against Utah, Temple, New Mexico, had double-digit leads in all 3 of those games, and they lost all 3 of those games, 2 of them by double digits.
Yes. So here's Coach Dreiling talking about trying to figure out a way to help his team maintain intensity for the entire game.
I'll gladly take the blame on that. I got to make sure that we finish. Right now, we come out in such great spurts, but then the flash is gone. And I've talked about this before, and I know you guys are tired of hearing about this, but we do need to have that killer mentality, right? We have to be able to finish drives, finish games, right? And that starts with finishing plays. And right now, the games come down to 3 or 4 plays, right? It was the quarterback sneak on 4th and 1. It was a 4th and 6 throw-up ball that we had a chance to knock down. So if we can just finalize those plays, we're going to be right where we want to be. The problem is in the game of football, you don't know when the 4 or 5 plays are going to come that decide the game, so you have to be on point on every single one. So it needs to be mental focus constantly. I told our guys this week that we're going to prepare harder as a coaching staff and a player than they ever have to make sure that we do not lose focus, if that's what it is, during the game, because it is all about finishing.
Yeah, it's all about finishing, and this game is going to come down to the Utah State defense, how well they play. Wyoming defensively, this is a team that gives up a lot. But there is a team that, as we've said earlier, can make life difficult on opponents on 3rd down. They've got a couple of nice linebackers, Shea Suia Noah. Don't know if I said that right.
Probably close enough.
Linebacker, he's in he's the top 10 in the Mountain West in tackles on the season. Connor Shea, another linebacker who's had a solid season. They've got a couple of defensive ends that have had a pretty good season to this point. Sebastian Harsh has 36 tackles on the year. Braden Sliders has 3.5 sacks, 3.5 sacks on the season. So they've got, and they're known for a solid defensive front. And so that Utah State offensive line has to continue to work hard to keep Spencer Petras clean, to give that offense a chance. And if they can do that, they will put pressure on Wyoming offensively to keep up. And I just don't think Wyoming can.
Yeah, if you can put pressure on Wyoming to keep up and, make their offense go out there and score points. New Mexico's offense could do that. Wyoming's offense is going to be a little less capable. It's kind of like when you play Air Force, and if you get up on them by 2 touchdowns, especially after if you're up by 2 touchdowns like the second, third, or fourth quarter, then suddenly it's a little trickier for them because the pressure is on them and their offense isn't built for quick drives. They're there for ball control and just score obviously as much as possible. But if they get too far behind, then suddenly they're a bit in trouble because then you force them into awkward situations. Utah State had I think one of their last couple of wins they got against Air Force, they basically did that. They weren't really stopping them all game, but then suddenly Air Force had to pass, and they couldn't do it. And Utah State ended up winning that game. I want to say that was the 2021 game, but I could be misremembering which one it was. So with Wyoming, I think it could be a similar thing. Like the key is going to be how well Wyoming runs, because I don't think that they're going to be able to pass super well against the Aggies. For all the injuries the Aggies have in the defensive backfield now, where I think Avante Dickerson's questionable, and you got some issues in the pass rush. I think as long as you can control the run game, that'll be fine. And I know with Nate Dreiling talking about maintaining the intensity and part of it is definitely on Dreiling. They're not adjusting as well as they should, but it's also on the players because it's not a coaching thing that the New Mexico guy caught the jump ball on 4th and 6. That ain't a coaching thing. That's just make a play, guys.
Yeah.
Coaches coach, like the 4th and 1, that was maybe a coaching thing where it's like maybe have a more creative play call, or some people just make a different decision. That was maybe a bit more of a coaching thing because what are the 2 offensive linemen supposed to block 4 guys in the A gap? That's a little trickier. So it's a little combination of both there, I think, with the second half. It's putting your players in the best position, and then they better make those plays. Again, it's, coaches coach, players play. You got to have both to win the game, or if you don't, you're not going to win the game.
Right. It's hard. It's hard to win a lot of games. We've got a number of texts coming through. Again, if you want to give us your score prediction, love to hear it. And when in doing so, you're entered to win 4 tickets to go see Utah State Club Hockey take on Weber State tomorrow night. If you can't go, let us know. We'd still love to get your score prediction. But a couple other texts are coming in. 3714. What if Whaley Harrison in his first game this year runs for the kind of yardage he did a year ago? Yeah, that's always a concern about.
Is he for sure playing this week? Because I saw one that said they weren't sure if he was going to play.
Well, Coach Saville was talking about. He was expecting somebody to be ready, and I don't know if that was Harrison or if he was speaking of somebody else. We'll double check on that. But to that point, though, generally speaking, is that concern about the unexpected player who hasn't done very much suddenly looks like a world beater against Utah State. We saw that against Temple. Guys that had no business doing what they did, having the time of their life against the Utah State defense.
Yeah. Except Harrison is a good running back. So it's like he wouldn't be an unknown. It'd be like, okay, he comes back, he makes his first appearance. The reporting I saw and this was like 3 days old reporting, so things could have changed by now, but saying it was about a 50-50 shot he plays. And my own speculation would be he might be limited anyway. But that's a guy that Wyoming could just come out and surprise the Aggies with their proficiency in running the ball. As bad as they've been all year, the Aggies could just very easily let them just go for all the rushing yards they want. I mean, last year when they were playing Georgia State in the bowl game, they lost basically everyone on their offensive line, running backs everywhere. Then they ran for like 350 yards.
Still didn't matter.
So don't just assume that the incompetence of Wyoming in running the ball is going to lead to an automatic stop on the defense, because then that's how you give up 300 yards rushing to Wyoming. And Utah State cannot let that happen.
8908, USU 40, Wyoming 34. Yes, on the hockey tickets, but might not be the best idea. Seems like I bring bad luck for them whenever I go.
Oh, no. Well, you'll be interested anyway. We'll see what other entries we get. Yeah, keep sending in your score predictions, And if you want a chance to win these hockey tickets, let us know.
Also, 8968, the key for the Aggies to win is to win the second quarter. Yeah, second quarter has been problematic.
Or just not lose it so bad.
Yeah.
That'd be the other thing. Like, if they tie in the second quarter, that might be a win.
That might be a win. It's true. All right, we got to take another timeout. Love to continue to get your score predictions. We'll give ours and more predictions and observations about Utah State taking on Wyoming in Laramie on Saturday. KVNU game day coverage will start at 3. Play-by-play will start at 5. And you can listen to it all on KVNU. And then when the game is over, we'll be back on the air again and taking your calls and your reactions to what happened in Laramie, either celebrating Utah State's first win against an FBS opponent or yet another loss. There's only 2 options. It's going to be one or the other. And we'll be there to talk about it. So a quick timeout with our score predictions coming up next on the Full Court Press.
Hey, this is Jarek with Jarek's Fine Jewelry. This October marks our 16th year anniversary. So to celebrate, we want to treat you to an anniversary date. Make it a date night on us. Come engagement ring or anniversary ring shopping at Jarek's Fine Jewelry. We have thousands of designs to choose from, including the newest custom designs. With no strings attached and no purchase necessary, we will buy you dinner at Sweeto Burrito or a sweet treat from Yumberry the entire month of October. Come engagement ring or anniversary ring shopping, and date night is on us. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. A few years ago, I saw this sign hanging in a gas station. It said price, quality, service. Pick 2 out of the 3. Now, it's funny, and I did laugh, but at My Mattress, we don't even want to do business unless we can do all 3. Price, quality, and service. We have a 90-day sleep guarantee, 90-day price guarantee, and we will answer the phone if you have a warranty concern. At My Mattress, we deliver, we have financing, we strive to be price, quality, and service every day. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Are you looking for compassionate and reliable care for yourself or a loved one? Look no further than Aegis Home Health and Hospice. I'm Tom Sherlock, a licensed social worker, part of the dedicated team of professionals committed to meeting the needs of our community. Voted best in Northern Utah 2 years in a row, we pride ourselves on delivering exceptional service that you can depend on. We're here to ensure comfort and dignity every step of the way. When it comes to your health, choose the agency that Northern Utah trusts the most. Choose Aegis. Visit myaegis.com or call today 435-723-9000.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wee's T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Last week's game against San Diego State, I saw 6 or 7 times last year. That was called Toledo. It was called App State. It was the same game until it was time to go win the game in the end, and we didn't do it. And no, the goal eventually is to let's start kicking some people's ass and do that, but we're not to that point. And so we're a long ways from it. We just got to make the plays that don't get us beat, and that's a big part of it.
That's Jay Sawvell. Yeah, he's a little grumpy about his team creating problems for themselves.
I'd be grumpy too if my team was 1-6. I'm surprised at how optimistic and cheery Nate Darling has managed to stay that.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if anything can take the smile off that man's face.
Yeah, that's true. He is really trying to stay optimistic through this. It's a contrast watching Nate Darling's presser and then watching Jay Sawvell's presser. Because Sawvell, he's dropping swear words. He's kind of calling out his team.
At least he speaks.
He's frustrated.
It's not like the Penn State coach where they're dealing with their own off the field problems, allegations with some former players.
Yeah,
he kept stepping away. I was like, "Oh, turn over the SID."
Just ducked out. No, and I'm not. It's not like Sawvell was just totally negative on his guys. But
you got to light a fire under him somehow.
Yeah, and Coach Darling he's expressed frustrations as well. It's not like it's all roses with him. He understands what's going on, but he's in the midst of all that. He's still trying to stay upbeat and stay positive. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I think I've asked 4 different players this week, what's the mood of the team? And all of them kind of give the same answer, really. That, hey, we're staying upbeat. We know we're 1-6. We'd like to be better, but we feel good about where we're at. And so that is a reflection of the coaching that's going on that, hey, guys, don't get down. Because you asked Coach Darling about this too, Jason, in the presser, that if you, it can put you into a downward spiral if you let it.
Yeah, it can. Like, if, and Coach Darling explained it, like at this point, it's, it's playing for pride. It's life lessons. It's things like that where, you can give up and you can just quit. We've seen a lot of players do that. They'll literally quit on their team and leave and say, I'm going to redshirt and I'm going to leave. And who knows if that's happened to Utah State? You can't know, and I don't want to put any accusations on anybody for that kind of thing. But we're seeing these guys that are healthy and out there going out there and playing and not giving up. They're playing to the end. Are they executing to the end? Not really. Otherwise, they wouldn't be 1-6. But we've seen this fight out of this team. And, whether or not they end up being one of the worst Utah State football teams of all time, history is the only one who's ever going to be able to explain that. Maybe we'll look back and we'll say that. But I think even then, they'll have reason to be proud of their effort and proud of the work they put into it, because it can lead them to success in other areas. If not this year, then down the line. But hopefully it'll lead to success this week, because that's the key. The season ain't over. If you keep fighting, then you they can still get some positive results. We keep pointing back to the, me and you keep pointing back to the Temple game and saying, and now New Mexico saying, see, that's proof that they can't beat a bad team, so they're never going to beat any bad teams. Who knows? We just mentioned, Kennesaw State beating Liberty.
Liberty, yeah.
It's like, it happens. You can have a good game just because you've had 6 straight bad games doesn't mean it has to stay that way. If you put in the work and don't let yourself get down, you still have a chance to turn it around, because the bell hasn't rung. It ain't November 30th yet. The season still is going on.
Okay, so another quick text before we get our score predictions. 7854, Aggies 41, Wyoming 34. Difference will be a special teams play. Okay.
You could argue it was the special teams play that impacted that New Mexico game, the muff punt. Of course, then the Aggies they kind of got it back, but
yeah,
it felt like
it was early enough in the game that they were able to overcome it.
Yeah,
but
it felt like
it seemed to flip a switch for momentum for New Mexico.
Yeah, because New Mexico got their first touchdown. So, but yeah, a similar thing could happen in this one.
5879, or the greatest comeback history.
Yes, that's true. You have the greatest comeback. Utah State started like 1-5, 1-6 once, and went to a bowl game.
Yes, they did.
That was the year they went to the Vegas Bowl, and it was their first ever bowl win. So it's like, you can start horribly and then switch things around.
Yeah, it's possible. Okay, Jason, so Utah State takes on Wyoming Saturday, 5 o'clock in Laramie. Weather looks like it should be nice. Of course, it will get dark. Temperature will drop once it gets dark. But they'll have half of the game in sunlight.
It'll be cold, but not...
it'll be cool.
Yeah, cool. Nippy.
But there doesn't look like there's going to be much weather to speak of, so I don't know that that's going to be much of a factor. I know it affects both teams, but some teams, the way they're built and how they try to execute, that can have an adverse effect on them, but doesn't look like that's going to be an issue. So how do you see the game going down on Saturday?
So, been trying to be optimistic here the last little bit, but I do have this one going down as a loss for the Aggies, just following the trend that they've had where maybe they start a bit strong and they just kind of fade toward the end. I think there's going to be a little less scoring. Part of me wants to predict a game in the high 30s, low 40s, but I think there's going to be a little less scoring. I don't know if it'll be the weather. I think it'll mostly be the defenses wanting to play with some pride. Utah State's going to see Wyoming and say, all right, we can shut down these guys. And they're going to play with the confidence, and that's going to help them. Of course, I still have them giving up a decent amount of points, but it'll be better than they've done the last 6-7 weeks. Utah State's offense, I think they can have a great game, but I think they're going to get slowed down by Wyoming a little bit. They're not going to have these 40-plus point games or 30-plus point games they've had the last few weeks. So I've got this one going down as Utah State 27, Wyoming 33.
Interesting. I feel like this is Aggies going up against an opponent that has had a lot of problems. Their defense is pretty stout and pretty decent, but I think Utah State's offense is also very stout and very decent. And I think that the Utah State offense will be able to do more than the Wyoming offense. I just don't see Wyoming with that much there. And so with that, I'm going to give Utah State the advantage here. I think it'll still be close, But I think that Utah State scores 35, Wyoming scores 30. They have one of their best offensive performances of the season, but not quite enough. And I'm going to give the advantage to Utah State Aggies on the road on Saturday with a 35-30 win, getting their first Mountain West Conference win of the year.
Here we go. I believe that is the first time we've disagreed on who we have winning the game this year.
It's true. That's true.
We didn't have an official score prediction last week, but I think both of us would have picked. Well, I picked New Mexico to win. I imagine you probably would have picked Utah State. Or excuse me, I picked Utah State to win.
Yeah, I would have picked Utah State to win as well. But I was, out of the area, and I didn't submit a score prediction for the week.
I didn't ask, so.
Yeah. But who do you agree with, Jason or me?
I'm the only one I've seen so far predicting Wyoming to win. I am alone.
What's your score prediction for Saturday? And if you submit it to us, you'll be entered to win 4 tickets to go see Utah State Club Hockey when they take on Weber State on Friday in the Eccles Ice Arena. 435-339-0321.
The convenience and security a Generac backup generator can bring is unmatched. Golden Spike Electric is your local source for Generac sales and service. Act now, and for a short time, take advantage of Generac's free 7-year warranty. Get yours today at Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Generac keeps you in control. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
This is Robbie Phelps with LSS Insurance. It's time to reevaluate your Medicare coverage for next year. There are big changes to Medicare Part D, and we can help. LSS Insurance is dedicated to providing you excellent care, support, and ensuring your health coverage meets your individual needs. Skip all the TV ads and loads of mail. Let us help you through all your local options face-to-face. Call 752-9493. Come see us. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493 to speak with a licensed insurance agent.
Ski season is coming, which means Season Ski Rentals. This is Mark at the Sportsman, where we have over 20 years of season ski rental experience. We rent to kids and adults. Come in to get season ski rentals for your entire family. We like to wait a little later in the fall because there is a chance your kids might grow out of their boots by the time ski season actually rolls around. Starting at $69.99, you will get the right gear for your kids to ski this year at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan, with tons of parking in the back.
Now here's a concept. You earmark 1/3 of your profits to go back into the community, to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Anthony Wagoner, and I'd like to share with you what I know about Dex, the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Join us in creating the brightest image for tomorrow. Contact us at deximaging.com.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
Snow, ice, cold weather, they're on the way. And it's all hard on your wiper blades. Napa features long-lasting silicone wiper blades from Rain-X and Trico. Stop in for a new set. We'll even install them for you. Napa Auto Parts from Preston to Providence, locally owned and operated. Utah State taking on Wyoming in Laramie. They're doing some renovations on their stadium. They're progressing, but trying to do some upgrades to War Memorial. Or is that what it's called? War Memorial Stadium?
Yeah, War Memorial Stadium.
I think so. But your score prediction for Utah State at Wyoming on Saturday.
By the way, which war are they memorializing with that stadium?
That's a good question. I don't know. Just war in general.
That's
those
not something
who have gone on to serve.
So war itself is not something to be memorialized.
No, those who have gone on.
It's the poor souls who have been involved in it.
Yes, true. 435-339-0321. Your score prediction for Utah State at Wyoming. We had a number of score predictions come in. And Jason, they're all kind of similar.
Yeah, pretty much somewhere between Utah State like scoring 35, 40 points and Wyoming scoring somewhere between 28 and 35. Like, I think one person had almost my score, but flipped because I think they had Utah State 34-28 and I had Wyoming 33-27. So like just shift the points down 1 point, and it was the exact same, and obviously flipped. But yeah, it's the idea where Wyoming's not very good on offense, but they probably should be able to score in the 20s and 30s. Wyoming's got a good defense, but the Aggies are pretty good on offense, and Wyoming's not that good on defense. So the Aggies should still be able to score in the 30s. At least they should be able to. I predicted them to not do so. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did. And if they have a really good game, they can definitely get into the 40s. Spencer Petras is on a roll. But it's just going to depend on how well they deal with Wyoming, how few mistakes they make, and obviously, how many plays are they going to make?
If Jalen Royals is limited,
that's
going to affect Utah State greatly.
That's massive. Unless you can get another one of those Jack Hystera 150-yard games.
Right, Kyrese White, Hystera.
Yeah.
Alatia pulls them down.
It's been tricky because Royals has really carried that wide receiver group. We thought it was going to be a little deeper. It hasn't been as good as I thought it would be. Royals has been, exactly who we thought he would be. Everyone else struggling with some inconsistencies.
Yeah. A lot more to get to next hour. There's still time for you to weigh in on whether, what you think the score will be between Utah State and Wyoming. Give us a score prediction and we'll enter you into our contest for these 4 tickets to go see Utah State hockey take on Weber State at the Eccles Ice Arena tomorrow night. Again, a 4-pack of tickets tomorrow night. Give us your score prediction for the Aggies and Cowboys.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Whenever a quarterback fails to perform for the team that drafted him, a lot of fans are quick to label that player a bust. The most recent example, former number 1 overall pick Bryce Young. The former Heisman Trophy winner has admittedly been unimpressive in Carolina. But based on recent history, there's no reason to believe that we have seen the last of him. The NFL's current landscape has been dominated by quarterbacks given a second chance. Jared Goff, an MVP candidate in Detroit. Baker Mayfield leads the NFL in touchdown passes. Geno Smith leads the NFL in passing yards. Sam Darnold and the Vikings are 5-1, averaging 28 points per game. Young will undoubtedly have to put in the work to mirror that success, and he gets the start this weekend. He may never be able to reach the expectations that come with being the number 1 overall pick. But with everything we've seen this season, that doesn't mean he can't develop into a franchise quarterback. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.